Lesson 3.3 is on solving equations by adding and subtracting. Now, when we solve equations, we are trying to get the variable, in this example p, all by itself, okay? In the end, we want to be able to get our variable equal to a number. So what we need to ask ourselves is what is happening to our variable? And then we are going to have to do the exact opposite of that because we are going to want to end up canceling out whatever is with our variable. In this case, once again, p. So we ask ourselves, p is being subtracted by 5. The exact opposite of subtracting 5 is to add 5. If I have a negative 5 and I add 5 to that, it basically cancels itself out and becomes 0. So that is our goal. We want to cancel out whatever is with our variable so we can get the variable all by itself. So since I have p minus 5, we ask ourselves, what is the opposite of this minus or negative 5? And that is a positive or adding 5. Now, because this is an equation, we need to keep both sides of the equal sign, the left side and the right side, balanced. So whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do the exact same thing to the other side. So if I added 5 to this left side, I need to add 5 to the right side of the equal sign. Now, negative 5 and plus 5, okay? Those cancel each other out because that is 0, okay? If you had negative 5 and you added 5, there is nothing left, okay? It ends up being 0. So what we did here is we canceled out the 5s, and I now have my goal in getting the variable all by itself, okay? P equals, that was our goal. We want to get the variable all by itself on its side of the equal sign. And now all I have to do is take care of this negative 2 plus 5. Now this goes back to the first chapter, same sign sum, different sign difference. Your signs are different, so you subtract. And when we do that, we always put the bigger absolute value on top. 5 minus 2 is 3. And then we have to ask ourselves what number was farther from 0, 5 or 2. 5 is farther from 0, 5 is positive, so our answer is positive 3. P equals 3. Okay? Next example, W plus 13 and 2/10 equals 10 and 4/10. Okay? So once again, you have to ask yourself, what is happening to your variable? Well, W is being added by 13.2. So the exact opposite of that is to subtract 13.2. And whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do the exact same thing to the other side. Now I have a positive 13.2 minus 13.2, so those cancel each other out. Once again, we got our objective, getting the variable all by itself. The only thing left over on this side that is not canceled out is the W, so I just bring it straight down. Bring down that equal sign, and now we just need to take care of our decimals. Okay, here are signs. Okay, since I don't have a sign in front of the 10 and 4/10, it is a positive, right? We assume it's plus, so our signs are different, so we subtract. Now, like we've said, we always need to put the bigger absolute value on top. This is farther away from 0 than that. And now we need to subtract because my signs were different. Bring that decimal straight down. 2 8/10. And then we ask ourselves what decimal was farther from 0. Well, 13 is farther away from 0 than 10 is. 13 has a minus or negative sign in front of it, so it needs to be a negative 2 8/10. All right, x minus 11, the opposite of minus 11 is to add 11. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the exact same thing to the other. If I added 11 here, I need to add 11 here. The 11s cancel each other out. Bring down my x since that's the only thing left over. Once again, signs are different, so we subtract. 20 minus 11 is 9. 20 is farther from 0. 20 is negative. So my answer needs to be negative. X equals negative 9. Here I have t minus 5/6 equals negative 1/6. Now the nice thing here is we already have a common denominator, so we're not going to have to worry about changing fractions. So we ask ourselves, what is happening to our variable? T is being subtracted by 5/6, so we need to do the opposite and add 5/6 to both sides. Those are opposites, so they cancel each other out. The only thing left over is t, so I bring it down. All right, now I already have a common denominator. looking at our signs, that tells us to subtract because my signs are different. And I need to subtract 5 and 1. Okay, 5 minus 1 is 4. Denominator stays the same. 5 is farther from 0. 5 is positive, so our 4 needs to be positive. Now the only thing here is that we need to reduce the 4/6. So t equals, we need to divide both of those numbers by 2. T equals 2/3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay? All right. Two other type of examples that you're going to see in this lesson. They're going to ask you to write a word sentence as an equation and then solve. Okay? So I need to get the equation set up before I can solve this. So 42 less than x is negative 50. We need to remember some of our phrases. Less than, decreased by, mean to subtract, okay? If I said increased or more than or the sum, that would mean to add. Anytime you see the word is, think of equals, okay? Now, less than, okay, we actually are going to, we do know this means to subtract, so I'm going to put that right under the less than. But with less than, we need to flip the order in which we read it. 42 less than x. Since 42 was first, I need to write that second, okay, in my expression or in my equation here. Okay, so 42 less than x really means x minus 42. Okay, is equals, and then negative 50. The only time, like I said, you're going to have to flip the order is when there is a phrase of less than, okay? So it's x minus 42 and not 42 minus x, all right? Now we have our equation. Now we just have to solve. What's happening to x? X is being subtracted by 42, so we need to add 42 to both sides of this equation. Negative 42 plus 42 cancels each other out. All I have left now is x. That was our goal. Bring down the equal sign. Signs are once again different, so we subtract. Remember, if our signs were the same, we would eventually add, but they are different here. So 50 minus 42 is 8. And then once again, 50 is farther from 0. 50 is negative, so my answer is negative 8. X equals negative 8. So what I was doing there is I was writing this word sentence as an equation first and then solving it. So kind of a two-step process. All right, last example. 32, so we're just going to bring that number straight down, is, once again we said was equals. Now the sum means to add, so I need to add the next two things that they're telling me to. So they're taking the sum of a number z, so that's our variable, is that we don't know what it is yet, but it's represented by a z, and 9. And since it said the sum, I need to take z plus 9. Now we just have to solve for z, get z all by itself. Z plus 9, so the opposite of adding 9 is to subtract 9, and we need to do that to both sides of this equal sign. Well, 9 minus 9 is 0. They cancel each other out. I need to bring the z straight down. We have our variable all by itself. And now I need to just take 32 minus 9. All right. 32 minus 9 is 23. 32 is farther from 0. 32 is positive, so my answer is positive 23. And it's okay if it's written backwards like this, 23 equals z, or like my other examples where I had the variable on the left side. That's okay. If you want to rewrite it because you like the variable on the left side and just rewrite it at the end, that's fine as well. Okay? All right, so for our homework, it is on page 100, 6 through 20 evens, if that is the first day of your assignment. The second day of our assignment is also on page 100. You are going to do 22 through 28. All of those, if that is the second day on lesson 3.3. Second day assignment, first day of your assignment.